Kim, if you would, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Present.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative Pollock.
Here.
Representative Hart.
Here.
Chairman Meredith.
Again, we do have a quorum constituted to do business. So the first item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes of the September 12th meeting of the committee. Is there a motion that be considered as being approved?
Motion for approval.
Motion by second, Senator Douglas. I'm sorry, who had the second? Co-chair Hart seconded that motion. All in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Carries. And we will acknowledge that Senator Thomas has arrived and Representative Chester Burton. Welcome, folks. Glad to have you here. Our total number of items on the agenda today are 580 in the amount of $119,559,803.11. All vendors are registered with the office. First, we will consider the deferred list, and please note that Kentucky Community Technical College System has withdrawn the amendment noted on the deferred list. So our next order of business, consideration of the agenda, including the personal service contract list, PSC amendment list, memorandum of agreement list, memorandum of agreement amendment list, the Kentucky Entertainment Incentive Program agreement list, and the corrections list, except for those items selected for further review. Do we have a motion to consider the contracts reviewed without objection?
Motion.
Motion by Senator Douglas, second by Representative Pollock. All for the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the vote.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. First item on the pool list with the Department of Local Government is number 3 on the routine PSC green list. And I understand they'll be testifying virtually. Are you folks online with us?
Yes.
If you would,
Aaron,
please identify yourself for the record.
Aaron Jones, branch manager of the Office of State Grants with the Department for Local Government.
Laura Redmond, budget manager with the Department for Local Government.
Thank you for joining this morning. I would ask you to raise your right hand. If you would, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I requested this contract be pulled, just a little bit unusual, I think. It's for the Fern Creek Community Associates, Inc., and we're appropriating $500,000 for the administration, operational expenses, construction, and so forth. I guess I just really don't understand the nature of this, so maybe you can educate me a little bit. Why is this a why is this a state responsibility, fiscal responsibility? Why isn't this a responsibility of Metro Louisville government?
Mr. Chairman, this is an general fund appropriation that was included in the 2022 regular session House Bill 1 budget bill. It was identified as a community development project, and this was a one-time allocation given to Fern Creek Community Center for fiscal year 23-24, and it was included in DLG's budget appropriation to administer.
Do you know, have we done this for other communities?
We actually had approximately 42 line items that were put in DLG's budget to administer from the 2022 regular session budget bill.
Are those above and beyond projects funded by coal severance?
These are not coal severance projects.
Okay, so there's 42 above and beyond coal severance projects. Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
Okay. So we'll be looking at this next budget cycle as to whether we'll continue this appropriation or not. Is that correct?
That will be up to the General Assembly.
I know it'll be up to General Assembly, but that's what I'm asking is, so it has to be reappropriated again. It's not a continued appropriation.
Well, the contract expires June 30th, 2024. So I would assume or hope that the funding is expended before then.
Then you've answered my question. It does require a separate appropriation, which we'll have to approve in the next budget cycle. Again, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I just want to understand the process and appreciate you sharing that with me. With that, there are no other questions. I'll make the motion to approve. Motion and a second. Kim, if you would please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, folks, for making yourselves available to us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item on the pull list with Department of Criminal Justice Training is number 5 on the routine PSC green list. If representatives are here, please come forward, and you are coming forward, and identify yourself for the record, please.
Good morning. I'm Chip White. I'm the Assistant Director of the Training Division, Kentucky Department of Criminal Justice Training.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Goins. I'm a staff attorney with the Office of Legal Services with the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet.
Mr. White, Mr. Goins, appreciate you being with us this morning. Representative Hart, Co-Chair Hart, has questions regarding this contract.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. I just can you just explain to us how does this differ from the multi-million-dollar contract that the Commonwealth has with Korn Ferry Enterprises that evaluates state positions?
I'm not familiar with that project, but what we use ours for is for development of our basic training curricula, both for law enforcement and for dispatchers, which is mandated by KRS 15440. And generally, a good rule of thumb is to do one every 5 to 7 years, and it's been 9 on the law enforcement side and almost 20 on the dispatch side. And so that's why we've done this.
Okay, so y'all don't you all get the contract that the Commonwealth has with Korn Ferry to do evaluations and stuff. You all get no benefit from.
That would be for state employee positions. DOCJT is doing this for locality positions for sheriff's departments, local police departments, and things of that nature. So I'm not quite sure that those two things interact with each other.
So if I understand, what you're all doing is basically on the more the local government level instead of the state level. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Co-Chair Hart.
Second.
Second by Senator Douglas. All those in favor of the motion will vote aye. All opposed will vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Again, gentlemen, appreciate you being available to us today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next item on the pull list are with facilities and support, and our numbers 11 through 17 on the routine PSC green list. If representatives are here, please come forward and identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. I'm
Good
Sam
morning.
Ruth, Commissioner of Facilities and Support Services, and with me is Scott Baker. He is the Executive Director of the Office of Facility Development and Efficiency.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here this beautiful fall morning. If you would, I ask you please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Co-Chair Hart has questions.
First, are the projects that have been cleared for construction, are they, let's see, I'll find my notes here. Has the bonding been secured and are they ready to go to construction?
This is just a,
These are all design service contracts, so some of these are studies, but this particular, you want to dig them in order, do this number 11 first?
Well, my question was kind of,
they're design.
Service.
they're design service contracts. They're not
Architectural and interior
construction
design, right.
contracts.
Right, yes, sir.
Okay. And could you all please make sure your microphones are turned on? The green light should light up. That way we can.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. No problem. Okay. Then that answers one of my questions because I was a little confused of whether or not these were design or construction. And the other one is with the fluctuation of interest rates on the bond market, will this significantly affect our ability to move forward as a Commonwealth, or do you see it having any impact?
I don't think we're the experts to speak on the bond market. If that's something you need, I'm sure finance can give you some input on it. The only thing that would affect these is, the inflation rates, cost of goods going up, things like that.
Okay. All right. Well, you have clarified this for me, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate you gentlemen for coming. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions, comments? If not, entertain a motion. Motion by Representative Pollock. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Douglas. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the row.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Aye. Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. And gentlemen, thank you for being available to us this morning. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next item on the pool list with the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority, and is number 20 on the routine PSC green list. I see these representatives are eagerly approaching the desk. Glad to have you with us this morning.
Good morning.
It's good, always good to see smiling faces. If you would, please identify yourself for the record.
I'm Rebecca Adkins. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of Kentucky Public Pensions Authority.
I'm Kathy McNaughton. I'm the Purchasing Branch
Is
Manager.
your mic on? I'm not sure that it is. Green light has to be on.
I'm Kathy McNaughton, the Purchasing Branch Manager at Kentucky Public Pension Authority.
If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. I didn't assume otherwise, believe me. I request this contract be pulled. Primarily because it's a sole source contract. I'm really skeptical of sole source contracts because in my experience on this committee, sometimes it's just a convenient way of continuing to do business with folks that we have a comfort level with, and just want to make sure that that's not the case. In the letter or documentation we received to justify sole source, it mentions that this company has worldwide coverage, so to speak. You say there are no other vendors with this particular, you say, proprietary database or services that provide these services. How do we know that?
Well, we did some research on that. This is what's unique about them is they're specific to pensions. So it's not benchmarking in like investment benchmarking that you normally think of. This is benchmarking us against other pension systems. Are we doing it well? Are we doing it better? Could we do it better? How do we do it better? So they look deeply into the habits, the methodologies of other pension systems internationally. Most of theirs are within the United States, and they have quite a contingent within Canada as well. They have some others in Sweden, maybe? I don't know. There are a few other places, but it's mostly Canada and the United States, and it's specific to pensions, and that's what makes it sole source. It's very well respected within the pension community. We go to national conferences like NASRA and NCPERS, and CEM is always there. CEM is used widely by some of the best performing pension systems.
Believe me, I'm not challenging you folks when I ask these questions. Just I want to make sure that every dollar we spend, there's some accountability for it and thought behind it. But is there any thought? And it's only a $70,000 contract. I appreciate that. But any thought to request an RFP anyway, just to find out what may be out there, what may be different, what may be new?
We have thought about that. This one particularly is going to be useful to us. We've hired a company called ProValiant to do a strategic plan initiative for us, and they were thrilled that we had done CEM. CEM really has three services. Operations side of the house, so they look at member services and how well we do those pieces. We did that last year with these guys. A lot of pension plans do that every year, but we don't think that the value is there financially for that. But then they'll give you a history over years as you watch. So that's the database that they keep. So on hundreds of pension plans, they'll pick a pool for you to be compared to, and they have a number of factors that picks your pool. So the ones that are most like you in size and assets, and then they compare you to those guys. We have thought about an RFP. I do think nobody else does this, but we wanted, because we're doing the investment side, we really wanted to, for this year, see the investment side that CEM does.
Well, I know it creates additional work for folks, but I like RFPs just because it shows due diligence that, somebody's looking possibly of something else. But again, it's a $70,000 contract, and I assume this evaluation is done on an annual basis.
Well, operations is every other year, and investments is the alternating every other year.
All right. Senator Douglas, you have a question?
I do, Mr. Chair. Although the question I originally was going to ask, you've already asked.
He hates it when I do that.
We're alternating years with the particular contract. So this particular contract, though, is every year. I mean, the $70,000. Is that what it's a question?
We didn't do 2 years in this one because of the biennium. So, but we intend and said so in the, I guess it's in the contract, or was it in the paperwork? Anyway, at some point, yes, we would intend to continue this for a biennium, to do ops in the first year of the biennium and do the investment side in the second half of the biennium. Is that what you're asking?
It is. May I ask a second question, Mr. Chair?
Most certainly, sir.
I agree with the chairman. I mean, in the big picture, $70,000 doesn't seem like much. How much does that information change from year to year over the course of 2 years? Because $70,000, there should be some. We talk about the proprietary information, and so there should be some line of information that they've been gathering over time. I sometimes wonder why it costs so much to review the same information that we've had for years and then just collect the changes that have occurred. Could you help me out with that just a little bit?
Well, I can't answer it for the investments because we've not done that side of the house yet. Mr. Eager, who wanted to be here, he's our executive director, wanted to be here today, but he was unable to at the last minute. But he has seen some of the investment pieces from the ops side, which I have seen. What that gives you is an opportunity to make changes and see how that affects what we've done. What we do is fill out this huge survey for them, and then they go back and combine all the surveys and compare that to us. This time, they also gave us, so we went back and said, this is interesting, but our contribution rate is wildly not in line with our peer groups. Could you redo all the data, assuming that our contribution rate was an average? And so they went back and redid our reporting based on the feedback that we had. So it's more than just the report and the data. It's also an ability to go back and forth and with the experts who are diving into this database, to allow us to ask questions and get a more complete analysis out of the data.
Mr. Chairman, that stimulated one more. I apologize. May I ask one last question?
Since it's you, yes.
Okay. So am I understanding that with this particular contract, because they're diving and looking at retrospective contribution rates and then those that may be required looking forward, are you suggesting that we will be getting more for this price this year than we have gotten in the past?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply that. This was the investment, so we've not done the investment side. So this
Okay.
is a different
side.
70,000. Yes, it's a different side of the house.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Co-Chair Hard, you have a question?
I'm just curious. Would you all be able to supply to the committee data that would show how this applies with the model procurement code of how you all complied with it?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Well, with it being sole source, I'm a little confused because we don't have a lot of definitive information as to why it's sole sourced, and I was just curious: have you all complied with the model procurement code in bidding this out and obtaining this?
We
didn't bid it out.
We did not bid it out. We looked for competitors.
Okay. Let me see that. All right. Mr. Chairman, go ahead. I might have a question here in a minute.
Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Here's my take on this. Fundamentally, I agree with you. I think even where you have a limited or number of bidders or providers, or maybe even a couple, it's always best to send out by through a request for proposal, because you will make sure who's out there. I fundamentally agree with you on that. However, there are certain operations, and another one that comes to mind beside public pensions would be our state police officers. Where you're dealing with operations that are highly critical to the state, like our police, our law enforcement, like our public pensions. If they're dealing with one entity that's highly renowned throughout the world, as indicated by the testimony we've heard today, then I'm willing to give that a pass and say, for those critical operations to the state that impact our public safety, our public welfare, then sole source is fine with me. So my opinion is, in this kind of situation where we're dealing with our public pensions, which is so critical to the welfare of our state, and they're dealing with a world-renowned institution, I have no problem with a sole source contract in those situations.
I appreciate that comment, Senator Thomas. I also absolutely value an RFP. I think we've seen really good results from RFPs, and there have been occasions where we had a sole source and have moved it to an RFP when the opportunity arose. So I agree. KBPA would absolutely agree with the value of an RFP.
Any other questions, comments? If not, entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
Motion by Senator Thomas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Chester Burton. All in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies, but we all become creatures of habit, and we have a little bit of change in our agenda this month that I overlooked. And my apologies particularly to our next guest here, but we have the introduction of our interim commissioner for Department of Education is here today, Ms. Kinney. She's asked to come before the committee to speak to us briefly, so Appreciate you being here. Appreciate your patience as I don't follow my own agenda, but thank you. I'll try to make it up to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. I won't take much of your time because I know your work is important and you have a very lengthy agenda today. But my name is Robin Kinney, and I am the interim commissioner at the Department of Education. I was appointed by the Board of Education on September 30th, and so I've been a week on the job. It's been very, very busy at KDE. But I wanted to come and just introduce myself to you so that you could put a name and a face together. Many of you may have talked with either me or some of my staff in my most recent position at the Department of Education. I was the Associate Commissioner in the Office of Finance and Operations. And in that role, I may have talked to you about either KDE operations or finance or local school district operations and finance. Whether it be the P-12 budget that KDE administers or more local issues that affect your specific district in SEEK funding or facilities or school and community nutrition, or the unfortunate disasters that we dealt with, floods and tornadoes in our state. So I'm just here today so that you can put a name and a face together. We have wonderful staff here at the Department of Education that appear before your body regularly. Karen Worth, who is our budget director, appears regularly in front of you. And a lot of the staff from KDE appear for you to talk about specific contracts. But I wanted to introduce myself to those of you that I haven't met yet, and also to let you know that myself, as well as the members of the Department of Education, are available to assist you, whether you're working on contracts or if you're working on legislation that is upcoming or the biennial budget that you will be considering in the next General Assembly. So again, didn't want to take a lot of your time, really just wanted to come and say hello, introduce myself, and let you know that I look forward to working with you. I'm happy to take any questions, but I know you're really busy. I'm also scheduled to appear in front of the Local Superintendent's Advisory Council. They're meeting in just a few minutes. And we have the Kentucky Board of Education meeting today as well. So a full agenda for us, just like a full agenda for you today. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you might have them.
First, let me congratulate you on your appointment and wish you the best going forward, and know that build a very strong partnership with your particular department. And again, my apologies for not getting you on earlier. I know you're very crunch time for
That's
here,
completely
but
fine.
do appreciate you taking the moment to come to our committee to introduce yourself and talk about it. And I think some people come to our committee with a little bit of trepidation and fear, and they really shouldn't. What I tell people is I think our role is we're sort of like the good housekeeping seal of approval, that we want people to understand when the contract is approved that it has passed all the necessary rigors of examination. And we just want to make sure that the people in the Commonwealth know that every dollar we spent has been scrutinized and it's been spent the way it's supposed to be. Your folks are frequent visitors here, but that's the nature of the size of your budget. You would expect that, but they're always very informative, very respectful, and I'm not surprised with that, and I'm sure that will continue. But we look forward to working with you as well. And again, appreciate you taking the time to introduce yourself and coming to our committee this morning. Any other members have any comments or questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you being here. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay.
Next item on the pulled list with Kentucky State University is number 21 on the routine PSC green list. If representatives are here, please come forward. And if you would, identify yourself for the record. Make sure your mic, your green light is on.
My name is Jennifer Linton. I'm the Interim Director of Capital Planning and Facilities Management for Kentucky State University.
Good morning. I'm Michael. I'm the Interim Chief of Staff for Kentucky State.
Appreciate you being here this morning. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Co-Chair Hart and I both have questions regarding this contract, but I'll defer to Co-Chair Hart first.
Thank you, Chairman. I just, when I was looking at these, at this this particular contract. I'm just curious as to why Kentucky State University is spending so much money on recruitment of temporary personnel.
No, absolutely. So we do not intend to. We ended our Sodexo facilities contract on September 1st. We didn't realize they had an outside temp agency they were using with. Each one of those temps are under a contractual obligation with that organization. Instead of buying out each individual one to come work at Kentucky State, we wanted to continue that operation with PeopleLink. And so starting October 1st, we actually took over that and not on September 15th. We asked them to continue paying till September 30th to end out that contract.
Okay, thank you.
And we plan on working on transitioning. This is not a permanent solution. This is a temporary solution, and we work on transitioning to permanent full-time employees.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
And we commend you for scrutinizing all these contractual relationships. And I think sometimes the world has a tendency to just get comfortable with relationships and not review them, not scrutinize them what they should. I guess the question that I have for you is regarding the transition itself. You said once the contract was terminated, 30-day notice was given, then you realize that these temporary employees have a contractual obligation. Is that
Correct, yeah. I think it was on a Friday they notified us saying they were going to stop the temps on the 15th. And that was almost probably 2/3 of our actual facilities crew that emptied the trash and did additional work with our students. And so we went on Monday morning, sat outside the office of this agency, met with them and said, we need to continue this as best we can, did the emergency process with it. And then thankfully Sodexo was paying the bill until September 30th. So it didn't start until October 1st. And then once they meet those hours, we're going to move on.
before you became aware of this, what was the plan?
Before we knew what the temp agency was?
Yeah.
So our plan was actually to meet with each individual staff member and then offer positions for October 1st.
So
and
these
then,
folks who we identified as temporary, you folks were going to offer employment to, but you found out.
use the, which is the state approved temp agency.
Right.
We were going to use a state approved temp agency until we realized they actually had contractual obligations with PeopleLink.
Already. Well, I know that you folks are well aware of our aversion to retroactive approval of contracts. It just never sits well, but there are justifications for it, and this certainly appears to be one of them. So, again, that's why you're for committee. Any other questions, comments? I'm getting whiplash here. Senator Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I do have a question. How much of this appropriation do you anticipate using? Could you give me an estimate on that?
Wow. We had that conversation. It was roughly about $250,000.
Yeah, I mean, assuming that we can transition as quickly, staff, we're able to hire, go through the process as quickly as we can, we think probably around $250,000, $300,000.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Co-Chair Hart. I believe second by, I'm sorry, who made second? Thank you. Appreciate that. All in favor of the motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas, Representative Chester Burton, Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye, motion carries. And folks, we thank you for being with us this morning, providing the information that we requested, and wish the best for Kentucky State University going forward. And I know you've got a huge challenge ahead of you, but I know you're up for the task. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the pull list with the University of Kentucky, and is number on the routine green list. I think it's only coincidental that it's number 26, which is pretty much where they fell in the polls, Georgia, but coincidence.
Didn't see that one coming.
None of us did.
I'm Bart Harden. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the University of Kentucky.
Barry Swanson. I'm the Chief Procurement Officer for the University of Kentucky.
Gentlemen, good to see you. Good to have you here this morning. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Co-Chair Hart has questions about Contract 26.
Not as much of questions about what I just like maybe some further explanation and a little bit more detail on what's actually being accomplished with this. I didn't quite understand it all when I read it.
Okay, you want to start or you want me to?
Well, it's my understanding that this is a asset preservation project. It's steam tunnel. The university has aging infrastructure, needs to be replaced and so forth. I don't have a lot of the details. The capital project team would have those details, but it's an asset preservation. This is a consultant contract that would help with the design. If we choose to go forward with this project, when that's completed, then we would competitively bid it through my office. This particular contract is handled through the capital projects group, though.
This is a project that is part of the asset preservation, the about $50 million we got in the last budget session for a laundry list of infrastructure projects on main campus for asset preservation. This project was submitted to CPE for approval that it met all the requirements as laid out by the General Assembly for asset preservation. It's my understanding this is a major, maybe the major steam line on campus that's going to have to be replaced, and it's going to be a fairly extensive project. It's going to be fairly disruptive to campus as we put it through there. So it's just a basic routine maintenance project that's going to be pretty extensive to complete.
All right, thank you. That's all I have, Chairman.
Any other questions, comments? If not, would entertain a motion.
Second.
Second by Senator Douglas. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the row.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas, Representative Chester Burton,
Yes.
Representative McCool, Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. And before you gentlemen leave the table, I just want to note that University of Kentucky has provided us with the personal service contract report, which we requested, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. You may remember when we approved their contracts, it's kind of a blank check sort of thing for engineering services, architectural services, various consulting services. And I've asked them in the past, so why can't we just vote on each contract? And well, it'd be a multitude of contracts. So good faith and gesture on our part, we said, okay, we'll approve, but we want to know how much you actually spend on these contracts. Because again, usually the ask is much more than the actual expenditure. So that's the purpose of this contract. I appreciate you providing that information to us. Any other questions, comments? If not, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Next item on the pull list with the Department of Medicaid Services. And is number 8 on the PSC Amendment Ivory list. And my personal favorite commissioner is coming to the table with others, and appreciate you being here this morning, Commissioner Lee.
Glad to be here. Thank you. I'm Commissioner Lee. I am the Commissioner for the Department for Medicaid Services.
Leslie Hoffman, Deputy Commissioner, and I oversee the behavioral health initiatives.
Amy Richardson, Director of Fiscal Management.
Is your mic on? You might want to pull it forward then.
Amy Richardson, Department for Medicaid Services, Director of Fiscal Management.
Thank you for being here. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes.
All right, thank you. I request this contract be pulled because first, it's a big one, $22 million, and that's part of the administrative cost of running the Medicaid program. But you make reference in the description, contract description, that the increase, the request is because of change in scope of services. It's adding some things that they haven't done before. So I just would like to understand what those additional services are and how we have broadened the scope. What are they doing different?
So the services that are new here are not listed in the original contract because these are services that are the direct result of legislation and CMS guidance. So for example, specifically, House Bill 3 and Senate Bill 162 relate to Medicaid covering services for individuals in the juvenile justice population prior to reentry into society. Same thing with our 1115 waiver. We received guidance from CMS in April of 2023 related to how we should structure our 1115 waiver related to serving individuals who were incarcerated prior to them being released and back into society. So because of those, the dates related to that information, we did not have the full scope of work outlined when the original contract was created. However, the scope of work that is currently being added is within the current scope of work within the contract.
For the committee's information, the reason I pose a question is we've had contracts previously where increases have been requested and again, excuse me, brought in the scope of services. And it's my feeling this should have been in the original RFP covered. Obviously, this is different because we've got legislation that has been passed since then, so it is understandable. But I want the committee to understand why I'm posing this question. But duly noted, understood. Any other questions, comments? If not, entertain a motion. Oh. Senator Douglas, my apologies, I got ahead of myself. Senator Douglas has a question.
I may have misheard. There are new services that are required, but this is already in the scope of services.
The scope of work, this contract relates to rate setting, audits, that sort of thing for some of our cost-based facilities. And so the scope of work that is added to this contract is within the parameters of the contract, the scope of work that Myers and Stauffer currently does for the department. The services are new that are going to be implemented in the future. For example, our serving the juvenile justice population and the incarcerated population. There's also a little bit of work related to our certified community behavioral health centers, which are CCBHCs. Those facilities are paid based on a prospective payment system, which is very similar to our FQHCs, our federally qualified healthcare centers. So there will be a lot of work in the future when we bring on those new certified community behavioral health centers to serve the Medicaid population.
One more question. You mentioned a lot of new work. Will that new work be covered under this particular contract?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No questions, comments? If not, entertain a motion. Co-Chair Hart made a motion. Second by Representative Pollock. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas, Representative Chester Burton,
Yes.
Representative McCool, Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. And thank you for being available to this morning and hope you enjoy the rest of this blessed day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the pool list are with the Department of Education is number 11 on the PSC amendment list and numbers 53 through 73 on the routine MOA pink list. And representatives are here and they're rushing to the table. And they're smiling, so we're on a good start here. If you would, please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. My name is Karen Worth. I'm the Budget Director with the Department of Education.
Mickey Ray, Chief Academic Officer in the Office of Teaching and Learning, the KD.
Matt Ross, I'm the Policy Advisor in the Office of Finance and Operations.
Again, thank you for being here this morning. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Hart, questions?
And my question is, luckily we're not going to talk about every one of these independently. It's one question that kind of pertains to all of them. I would just like to have a, can you explain what, is it LAVIC or LAVAC is and what the anticipated results are from what you're doing with it?
Absolutely. I can tell you that LAVAC is a local area vocational education center. So we do have our state operated area technology centers, and then we have the ones that are actually operated by the school districts. I also have representatives from our Office of Career and Tech that can talk a little bit more about the funds that go to our LAVACs. So Reagan, do you want to come up?
If you would, please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Reagan Satterwhite. I am the Policy Advisor in the Office of Career and Technical Education.
Appreciate you being here. I have to ask you to raise your right hand as well. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please
Yes.
continue.
So as Karen stated, our LAVECs are our local area vocational education centers. Some history behind this is prior to House Bill 1 of 2022, we had a LAVEC pot of money that was allocated to all local CTE centers that had 5 or more career and technical education programs. House Bill 22, or House Bill 1 of 2022, appropriated money that went to not only our LAVECs and our state centers, but finally allocated enough money that we could fund all of career and technical education in the state, regardless of whether they had those 5 programs or less than 5 programs. So everyone receives a chunk of this LAVEC pot of money as it currently is.
Okay, that I appreciate that. It was more of an education for me in the committee because I wasn't when I first read that I wasn't real sure what it stood for. So I thank you so much for coming and explaining that to me.
Any other questions, comments regarding these particular contracts? If not, entertain a motion. Motion by Representative Pollack. Is there a second?
Second.
Second with Co-Chair Hart. All those in favor of approving contracts 53 through 73, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
50 on the pink.
Just
53.
yeah.
No.
This is just on 53 through 73. We still have one in contract we have to discuss.
Okay. Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas, Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollack,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye, motion carries. Now we'll go back to number 11 on the PSC amendment Ivory list. I request this contract be pulled. I was just think these management improvement consulting contracts are kind of interesting. It's a pretty good salary. Just curious as to, for want of a better term, why this position isn't kind of embedded within the Department of Education. Why does it require a freestanding consultant? And if it does, why was this particular person selected for this position?
This was an RFP that was done. It was the department's intention, and this was back in fiscal year 20, I believe, that we started the contract. It's the department's intention to have, we wanted to create a bench of transportation experts, a bench of management improvement consultants, really a lot of retired district staff that could go into school districts that have areas of need. We didn't have a whole lot of luck with a lot of respondents. But we did have this particular person who is a retired KDE employee and also a retired district employee. So she has been under contract with us since 2020. She works directly for the Office of Finance and Operations, and we've been able to utilize her expertise in different areas. She's been in Breathitt and Menifee for state audits. She's also recently helped us with the emergency assistance to non-public schools money that we received from the pandemic funds from the federal government. She's taken the lead on that because that was a heavy lift, about $82 million for the department to administer dollars to non-public schools. And we don't do that every day. So we were really starting out not understanding and not knowing because we don't work in the non-public world. So she has taken that job for us and really taken a heavy lift off the department.
Is there work on an as-needed basis, or is it?
It is.
Okay.
This is an up to amount, yes.
Up to amount.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that's very important. I
Yes.
appreciate you been answering that. Okay, better understand. Any other questions, comments from committee members? If not, entertain a motion. Question from Senator Douglas.
I do have one question. She's been essentially in this position since 220. Was that my understanding?
Yes, sir.
Is she providing information to anyone who's already in the system to learn these skills?
Yes, she leads up a team that we've created around this federal money that she's working with and also around the school district level. She has a team that is KDE employees, 18A staff in some cases, that goes with her to learn the type of assistance that we can provide for districts.
Is there a plan to transition her from the lead and have someone else take this over, or is this the way we're planning to proceed down the road?
I can probably say that we will probably do the one last 2-year renewal, and that will be because our Eanes money lasts through September 30th of 2024, and we would like for her to be able to stay on to close that grant out. I cannot speak for leadership, but I would think that after the next 2-year renewal, that we would reevaluate how we wanted to move forward.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Any other questions? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Co-Chair Hart. Is there a second? Second by Representative Pollock. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Again, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas, Representative Chester Burton,
Yes.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. I believe that's all the business we have with you folks
Thank
today.
you.
Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
You have a blessed day. Next item on the pull list are with Department of Travel, and our numbers 143 through 167 on the routine MOA pink list.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm Mike Mangic, Commissioner of the Department of Tourism.
Glad to have you with us this morning. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm to tell the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Co-Chair Hart has questions.
Could you explain exactly how the amounts for the various communities were, how you reached that determination? And is there a defined list of what the deliverables or anticipated results and outcomes would be?
The 20 contracts that were pulled for this, 7 of them fall under what we call Tranche 3, which is marketing for meetings and conventions. The remaining 13 are Tranche 4 contracts, which are multi-jurisdiction collaborative marketing. How the amounts, both of those were competitive grants, those programs. The communities had to send to us and a review team what their plans were. We didn't want it to be exact, simply because in marketing things change. Projects you don't spend as much. We wanted to give them flexibility on that. So it was a combination of how much. On Tranche 3, we actually created, again, this is meetings, conventions, we created a system of the amount of available square footage for meetings in a community, and there was a maximum grant allowable in there. So that was how we handled it in Tranche 3. Tranche 4 was a little bit different, simply because in the legislation it says that priority shall be given to projects that can lead to have potential transformational change. That's a little subjective and hard to measure. So we really looked at it from the standpoint of what we thought was sustainable long-term. Keep in mind, Tranche 4 also included a 10% match from the local communities to come in. So I don't know that I'm getting specifically to your question. We reviewed the applications. He had to submit a plan of work for us, a marketing plan. We looked at that and reviewed it, and then came back and gave out the amounts. The maximum grant under Tranche 3 for meetings and conventions was $5 million. Remember, that was a $25 million pool of money. Under Tranche 4, which was $10 million total, the maximum grant was $500,000 per round.
Okay. So if I, just for clarification, so if I understand it right, most of the grant, the monies or that the different agencies would receive or what have you, is for the marketing of whatever particular event they're promoting at the time. Is that a?
It's not necessarily tied to an event. No, sir. It
Okay.
can be. It's really the legislation when passed said Tranche 4 specifically should follow or be similar to our long-standing matching funds program.
Okay.
So there are guidelines there of what are eligible expenses and what are not eligible expenses. We expanded some of the eligible expenses in this because it didn't say it had to be exact. It was similar. And we responded to the needs that the community came back to us in many ways. And some of that was professional development. Some of it was to allow those expenses. It could have been what local wayfinding signage, which is important in tourism. We've got a couple of programs that have been funded through that. So it's not specific to a program or an event per se. Each community is much different. Obviously, what you may need in, Grant County may be much different than what they're doing in Jefferson County. So we worked with them, and actually we continue, our staff continues to have ongoing conversations with with the DMOs and the tourism commissions when they call in and say, is this an eligible expense, or I didn't spend as much on this, or what I was planning here didn't happen. Can I adjust my plan? And we're trying to be as flexible as possible with that.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Any questions, comments? If not, there's a motion to approve without objection.
So moved.
Motion by Co-Chair Hart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Douglas. All's in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas, Representative Chester Burton. Yes. Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you for being available to us this morning. The final items on the pull list are with the Justice Office of the Secretary and are numbers 182 through 288 on the routine MOA pink list. If representatives are here, trot right up to the table and we'll take care of business. Two come up immediately, two are coming reluctantly. And just, all right. We're all amongst friends here.
I'm one of those who's entering with fear and trepidation.
Is your mic on? Make sure your mic's on.
Yes, it is.
Okay. If you would please identify yourself for the record.
I'm Angie Lawrence. I'm the director.
I don't think your mic is still on. It's.
I'm Angie Lawrence. I'm the director of grants management.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nathan Goins, Office of Legal Services, Justice and Public Safety Cabinet.
Thank you for joining us this morning. I assume the bench is behind you for
Yes.
consultation. All right. If you would please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Co-Chair Hart has.
If y'all could you explain 28 CFR 94, 119, and 90 and 120, and how does each of these communities, how have they been selected to provide this service?
So these are they're 100% federal funds for both of the grants that we get, and we get this every year, and we have a competitive process where people do applications for us for our grants, and we have subject matter experts who review those applications, and we have internal staff who review those applications, and we make our decisions based on the criteria in those applications. And for the ones who are continuing applicants who have received grants before, we look at how they handled the grants, de-obligations to those grants, that sort of thing. So it's a group effort as far as who is reviewing those grants and how that works. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, okay. For the most part, I guess, and if I'm understanding it right, when it comes in, since they're federal grants, a lot of your
recipients.
Yeah, well, not only the recipients, but the what would qualify them to receive it is named or laid out in the grant.
Correct.
Okay.
There are parameters. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that does explain it. And is there? Let's see. Make sure. Is it? Can you elaborate a little bit on what maybe some of the outcomes could be after they receive this grant, or is that in your all's?
Sure. So the and I don't know how much you know about these grants, but the Victim of Crimes Act is, we call it VOCA. It's to help victims of crime, and in our state we fund facilities that do, and it goes to state, local, and nonprofits, and so it's people who help victims of crime with therapy, with housing, to help them through the courts if they're in a court case. We give them housing assistance, just various things to help them to get through their victimization. The Justice Assistance Grants are the primary source of funding for one of the primary sources for our cabinet. We fund Drug Task Force. We also put advocates in local law enforcement offices, again, to help victims of crime on that side. And then we help with reentry and recidivism and things like that. So that's where the funding is going to.
Yeah, and is there, is there a reason, or is there? It seems to me if this is something that's reoccurring, should maybe it could have been brought out earlier, like at the beginning of the fiscal year, or is there a reason why it's more in more into the October? And I think I just got my answer, but let me just rephrase that. The reason why you've waited so late to bring this forward is you're all meeting the federal.
Correct. We're trying to line up with that, yes, sir.
That didn't click when I read this, but I do appreciate you all coming forward. And like I don't know a lot about these grants, and I'm trying to learn. And I appreciate your all's efforts in educating me.
Sure. Anytime you all have questions, we'd be happy to answer.
All right. Thank you so much. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
We do have a request for one more comment.
Okay.
Good, Co-Chair Hart.
Motion.
He has overcome his shyness. Senator Douglas has a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. I do have a question. I know that those facilities who are receiving these funds, these federal funds, you've mentioned that there is some standards that, or some criteria that they must meet to receive these funds. Those funds are then distributed to someone, as you mentioned, there are advocates that are sent out to certain areas and do certain things. Do those advocates have to have certain degrees, or do they have to have meet certain criteria to be able to participate in the distribution of these funds? And my second question, since this is the last one, I want to sneak this in. For those who are receiving funds, the victims, are there certain criteria that they have to have been involved in, or things that have had to happen for them to receive those funds?
So they have to be, for the VOCA grant, Victims of Crime, they have to have been a victim of a crime.
If I may, I apologize for interrupting.
That's okay.
How do we define, is there a definition for crime? And this is an education.
Because he would be able to answer that better than me.
This is an education for me.
Sure.
That's why I'm asking.
If you would, please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Anthony Gill, and I am a Justice Program Administrator of the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet, and I'm the lead administrator for our Victims of Crime Act programming.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
The definition of a victim of crime or crime victim per 28 CFR Part 94 is an individual who has experienced physical, emotional, sexual, or financial harm due to the commission of a crime. And these funds are these funds aren't distributed directly to victims of crime. These funds are subawarded to victim service agencies that provide services like immediate emotional, psychological, and physical health and safety needs, personal advocacy and emotional support, mental health counseling and care, assistance with navigating the criminal justice process. And each of these agencies is required to report on a quarterly basis on the activities that they have supported with these funds. And some of these agencies do include in their budgets a line item to be able to provide direct financial assistance to victims of crime. And in those cases, we would require that agency have policy and procedure around how they manage that, so that they're not giving direct financial assistance to individuals. They're paying someone, if a victim of domestic violence has lost their home, that they're paying, and they're helping them with relocation costs, that they're paying a landlord. They're not giving money out directly to individuals, that they're paying bills on behalf of individuals, and that they have systems in place to track that sort of transaction.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Representative Hart, Co-Chair Hart, you have a
One real quick question: could any of these funds be used by like a school resource officer if they're providing any type of services?
So in the past, we for several years after the mass violence incident at Marshall County High School, we funded mental health counseling with VOCA funds, with Victims of Crime Act funds. VOCA funds cannot be used for the direct investigation or prosecution of criminal activity. Justice assistance grants could potentially be used to support a position like that, but there are so many other sources of funding available for that work as well that we haven't really received any applications that I'm aware of from school districts or anything like that to try and support that kind of work.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I got
Representative
one.
Pollock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just kind of like Senator Douglas, it's kind of an education question or two for myself. You mentioned agencies applying for these funds.
Yes, sir.
In the rural areas, in my district, Central Kentucky, do they go through these special agencies that are requesting these funds? Is that through the area district development?
Some of them are, sir. Many of our victim service providers, they've been designated by the Cabinet for Health and Family Services to provide a certain victim service within an area development district. So, for example, in the Barren River Area Development District, we fund the Barren River, subaward funds to the Barren River Area Safe Space for domestic violence services, the Barren River Children's Advocacy Center for child abuse services, and to Hope Harbor in Bowling Green for sexual assault and rape crisis services. So many of those services, many of those victim service providers that we fund, we do give priority consideration to programs that are set up to serve those multi-county areas as part of that overall, to avoid funding the same work in multiple ways.
I got you. So you mentioned Barren River. So one of my counties is Lake Cumberland. The other one's Lincoln Trail. Do they still have all these same programs in each of those? And then I guess you guys determine who gets what as far as funding goes, as far as the process?
It's a committee, really, that,
I got you.
that does it. Yes, it's not just us.
Right. So a committee that looks over these applications.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions, comments? If not, entertain the motion to consider the contract review without objection.
So moved.
Motion by Co-Chair Hart, second by Senator Douglas. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed will vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Yes. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. And thank you all for being available to us today and appreciate the education you provided to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
The final items on the agenda for the consideration of 3 exemption requests, which are quite routine for our committee because these all deal with funding that goes beyond the biennial. So if there's no objection, I would entertain a motion to approve those. Motion by Co-Chair Hart, seconded by Senator Douglas. We can do this by voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right. Before we adjourn, please remember that our November meeting date is going to change to a Thursday because it would fall on Election Day. So the next meeting of this committee will be Thursday, November 9th at 9 a.m. in this room. Questions, comments? Thank you all for participating this morning. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye or stand up. All right. Done. Everyone have a blessed day.